to be here, so I apologize. You guys have to listen to me again and look at me. I promised I would try to represent her professionally, so I put my jacket on for this section. So Bill Ray wanted me to wear a dress, but that was another question. So, I wanted to start with, I did want to mention the initiative that we're working on, which is the Arkansas Medical Freedom Amendment. And I wanted to start out with a quote as well. This quote's by Dr. Benjamin Rush. He was, I believe, the personal physician of George Washington. He was the Declaration of the Independence signer. But he said, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privileges to others. Will constitute the vestige of medical science. All such laws are un-American and despotic. So, anyway, so the amendment that we're doing, this is a proposed amendment to the Arkansas Constitution that will add medical freedom to our protected rights. It will secure the rights of Arkansans that no person, regardless of race, age, gender, or previous condition, who chooses not to partake in any medical intervention, examination, treatment, or other health-related pursuit may be mandated, coerced, or discriminated against regardless of pandemic, state of emergency, or other conditions of the state. Humans are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights to bodily autonomy. This amendment would make it unconstitutional to try to force people to do something with their bodies that they do not want to do. We are required to get signatures to get it on the ballot. If we get 89,151 signatures by July, we will be able to put this amendment on the ballot for November for the people to vote on. It's going to take many people to accomplish this task as time is of the essence. So if you are able to help, please let me know. Or if you're watching online, you can visit defendarkansas.us or find the Arkansas Medical Freedom Amendment on Facebook. Thank you. Back to the FOIA. Submitting a FOIA request is a simple and easy task. Anybody can do it. There are a multitude of places where FOIA can come in handy. It'll save you time, money, and energy if you use FOIA when gathering information. Last year when we were doing some research on the Arkansas Board of Health, we couldn't find any information on how it went from a legislative body into the current executive branch. We even called Mr. Rogers and he wasn't able to answer any of our questions. But when we emailed in the list of questions through the FOIA initiative, we had, within a few days, I had all the answers at my fingertips. We would never have found some of that information. It only took a simple email to him, outside of the phone call and everything else to get all that information. We had it. More recently, when we were working on the Arkansas Medical Freedom Amendment, we called the Secretary of State because there's a whole list of things that we have to do, to get a ballot initiative like that done. The last one is, once we get it all done, if we get the signatures, then the Arkansas, the Secretary of State, they will run it in the newspapers and they will charge the petitioner whatever that costs. So we were like, how much does that cost? So we called them, they wouldn't tell us, we don't keep those records, we can't tell you how much that costs, we don't have any information on it. So we FOIA'd it, like, well, how much did it cost the last person that did this, right? And so within just a couple of days, we had a blank redacted check that had the amount on there. It was over $17,000 that it cost the last person to do this. So at least we now have some understanding of what possibly it might cost whenever they told us they had no idea. Recently, many school districts across the nation have seen a rise in parental involvement, especially pertaining to curriculum and library books, as we've talked about earlier. I'm aware of one school where a community member requested information regarding the purchase of certain books. She received some of the information she requested, but some of the information was not granted. When she questioned the custodian of records, she was informed that the school does not keep records who purchased the books. Who purchases the books? The community member who had requested the information was wise enough to refer back to the school policies that state that the district must keep records of such purchases and referred the custodian of records to this policy. Suddenly the custodian remembered that they do have those records and they were able to retrieve them. Whether it's an accidental or an intentional act, if the community member hadn't been aware of the policies and requirements of the school, she would not have been able to obtain the information she requested. This is an important reminder that we need to be aware of our rights and the policies that are in place to protect those rights. So how do you write a FOIA request? A good FOIA request is addressed to the custodian of records and contains a clear, concise request for information. The request should clearly state in as much detail as possible exactly what information you are requesting. If your request is vague or confusing, it will likely cause a delay in receiving the information if you get what you're looking for at all. Overall, submitting a FOIA request is pretty simple. There are multiple avenues that you can take to achieve the goal. Depending on the recipient, you may be able to call, email, snail mail, or fax in the request. Most of the time I find, just like Dr. Steinbuck said, that emailing is the quickest and most efficient method because it's a recorded format that transmits quickly and it's free. Different public bodies do request various methods of delivery, so it may be beneficial to ask for the preferred method of receipt, what it is, before sending the request. Again, include as much information in the request as you can. Here are a few examples for people like me, just a citizen, of what kind of powerful information you can get from this FOIA. If you've been in a car accident, you can call the police department within 24 to 48 hours. You can ask them to save the video from any camera at an intersection. Now those videos do overwrite themselves fairly quickly, but if you're on top of things, you can request that and they will save it for you, and you can have a video of that whole scene. You can ask for police video footage from an incident by filling out a form and submitting it. So whether they have a body camera on or whether they have a dash camera, they're recording all their audio that goes on, and you can FOIA that information and get that exactly what was said. No more questions about he said, she said. You may request a multitude of information from government agencies, usually by email. Try to include specific details of what you need, whether that's of the conversations between specific officials and other entities, or you need more information than you're able to find on your own, like I had to do with the Department of Health. You should include key phrases that would trigger words for the topic you are seeking information on. Once I sent a request for information that triggered a terabyte of data. My request was obviously too broad, so I had to go back and narrow that request down. So it wasn't intentionally being punitive, like some people mentioned earlier, but we came back and we're like, okay, maybe we need to reword that. One example of a good FOIA request is on the tables for you guys to review. I know Dr. Bill Lewis said, I mentioned that before, so there's a very good one there on the tables. It is addressed to a specific responsible party. It clearly states that as per the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act of 1967, this person is requesting the following information, and it clearly lists the requested information. At the end of the request, it is signed with the entire return address, the phone number of the person requesting the information, so the custodian of records knows where to send the documents once received and can contact her for more information if necessary. Also notice that this letter was sent by certified mail. If you choose to do snail mail, it would be wise to have some documentation of when it was sent and received. Since FOIA requests are to be granted within 72 hours, you'll want to know when the request was actually received. Again, it's generally a quick and easy process to request information. The most important thing is to request in a clear, concise manner. The custodian of records has 72 hours to present you with the information or to request more time for your FOIA request if your FOIA request is lengthy and requires more in-depth search for information. I would certainly recommend that when you send that request, if you don't hear anything back in 3 days, follow up with them. Make sure they got it. Don't be argumentative, but say, hey, it's been 3 days, just want to make sure you got my request. Try to get some kind of response out of them. If they need more time, great. They should really be asking you or letting you know, hey, it's going to take me about a week or so to get this information. And if they do, I think like Drew said, fine, let them have the time that they need to get you the information. As long as they're communicating with you and replying, then that's a good sign. So that's all I got.
All right.
Speed reading on my speech.
Can I borrow your